Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols. So, this video is going to be a little bit of speculation, but it's a speculation based on current science and science results and some beliefs that quite a few scientists and physicists hold. So, many of you may recall an experiment called LIGOS. It's a big instrument and it's a laser interferometer. And what it basically does is it's a giant laser that's in an L shape. And what it does is it detects gravity waves by variations in the two lasers bouncing back to a source. And it was used to detect the collision initially of two black holes. The largest, most massive structures in the universe was our very first indication of gravity waves. And since then, we've detected slightly smaller and slightly smaller mega collisions, basically, in the universe. So we know that gravity waves are real. And there is a very strong belief amongst many physicists that if there are gravity waves, then there are gravitons. Regardless, we know there are gravity waves. So, and as you guys know, waves have frequency and intensity and amplitude and the wavelengths. So let's look at the gravimetric field and make some speculations. It's a quantized gravimetric field tensor and its dynamics. It's called geometrodynamics. I did not make up geometrodynamics, by the way. It is a real term. So, these waves, gravity waves, can go from gigantic to very small and subtle to really tiny. And we're only right here in terms of being able to detect them. These gigantic, miles long, like the size of the Earth, right here is where we are probably, thousands of feet. And we can detect that. So these are huge, huge waves that are over here at the very small end, the size of the Earth, then thousands of feet.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Check your Wi-Fi network connection by going to settings.
I guess one of my devices wants to connect to the internet. And it's talking to me. So these waves get smaller and smaller and smaller. Human size, bird size, the size of pollen, amoeba, smaller and smaller and smaller. Now let's say there's a distortion from a UFO flying through our atmosphere. It might make a much smaller gravity wave distortion. And we'd have to have a much more sensitive interferometer of some kind. And of course I have some notions in how that could be done, but I'm a non-physicist, so I'm probably wrong. But anyway, let's look at this and make some assumptions as to what this future science holds. There is a gravimetric field. There are gravity waves, so we know they can have higher amplitudes, higher frequency, shorter wavelengths, and that can have some incredible consequences. And only the most advanced civilizations more advanced than us, can master these and emit these, create them, and certainly detect many of them. So all the way down here, you're going to have gravio waves. These are waves that would be very long and used most likely or possibly for communication. There has been research, we know by the CIA and some people in particular, who looked at gravity waves as a communication method. And those would likely be way down here, these giant, larger gravimetric waves. Then they would get more intense. And these would have more strength and more power. The ones that are around the human size would have a very strong power. They have a very strong influence, these gravity waves. And then they get more and more strong all the way down here. So let's think about what these gravimetric waves could do. And there's different names for the types of gravity waves. And if you could take gravity waves and do with gravity waves what you do with lasers, by having stacked gravity waves, you'd have to have them at you'd have to be right around here, I guess, right around the size of pollen. You could create a glazer, a gravity laser. And that might have the ability to pull things towards you at an incredible speed. Over here, first you'd use it for communication. Over here, you might even be able to use these shorter wavelength gravity waves for all sorts of things, maybe even stuff like cooking. There could be medical uses for it. As you go down here, the power gets stronger for these gravity waves. And stronger. You could have a tractor beam right around here. Likely. As you get down here, you could have a propulsion system. You could use these very intense gravity waves to point to a certain location, have multiple of them pointing at a certain location, have those beams cross, and you might be pulled towards that location. It could be a propulsion system. Then, as you get down here further, you'd have a very brutal weapon. So, what do you guys think? What do you think about the future of gravity waves and what they could do? Some of them could be used for good, some could be used for weapons, some could be used for medicine, communication, propulsion. But this is a science we're just beginning to peek at. What do you guys think? Much love.